Okay, so now we're subtracting. So we're in homework number 7. We are subtracting in foreign-based systems. So you know the drill. So this one is a base 8 problem. So in base 8, you're never going to see an 8 or higher. Instead, now we just finished adding. In adding, you constantly are carrying something to the next column. But in subtraction, now that we're in homework 7 subtraction, we don't carry in subtraction, we borrow. Instead, borrow 8. So it's all about borrowing when you're subtracting, right? So I'm going to borrow 8. That's the key thing. That's what we want to see. When we add, we carry. When we subtract, we borrow. So you're adding or subtracting. You're carrying or borrowing the base number. It's always the base number. All right, here we go. So let's begin with, I need to, you're start in the right column. I cannot subtract 6 from 3, can I? You cannot take 6 away from 3. That's not possible. So what are you going to do? You got to borrow from this guy, don't you? And come over here and borrow, make him a 4. Now, what do we do in our system, in base 10? If this was a base 10 problem, you know what we would do, right? We would cross this out, make it a 4, and I'd put a 1 there, right? I'd bring a 1 there, making that 13, and then 13 minus 6 is 7, 4 minus 2 is 2. That would be how I would do the problem in base 10 in our system. Now, think with me more deeply than you probably ever have about what just happened in our system. This is not correct. This isn't base 8 yet. I'm just comparing to our system. When you put a 1 right there, what did you just do? That 3 became 13, which means you added 10 to it, didn't you? For 3 to become 13, you added 10 to it. That's what that 1 is. It represents 10. And you might be feeling, well, yeah, of course. Well, it's so natural for you because you've done it for so long. But for young folks that you're teaching for the first time, they're going to think, wait a minute, Mr. or Mrs. Your name. They're going to say, look, you borrowed 1 here, right? 5 became 4. You borrowed 1. So this should become 4, right? If you bring 1, because you borrowed 1, it should become 4, not 13. Why doesn't it become 4? You just borrowed 1. Why didn't we just bring 1? You're telling me you made it 13? Well, yeah, this 1 here is 1 in the tens place, isn't it? It's because this is the ones place and this is the tens place in our system. And so when you borrow 1 from this place, you're really borrowing 10 because this is the tens place. And so you really bring 10 to that 3, making it 13. That's what we're doing, and that's what you'll need to explain to younger folks. So now, likewise, same kind of thing. In our system, we're going to borrow in this base. Now let's go to base 8. Let's do the same thing in base 8. So I'm going to borrow from the 5, make it 4, and I'm going to bring how much? How much am I going to bring to that 3? I'm going to bring 8, right? You always borrow the base number. Why? Why 8? Because in base 8, this is the ones place, this is the eights place. This is not the tens place over here. This is the eights place. This is a base 8 problem, right? Everybody tracking with me? So when I bring 1, when I borrow 1 from this column and bring it over here, I'm bringing 8 because this is the eights place. Anything in this column is worth 8. So the 1 I took brings 8, doesn't it? So that makes this now become 11. Are you tracking with me? You always borrow the base amount. That's how a place value system works. When you borrow or carry, you borrow or carry the base amount. So we borrowed 8. So now 11 minus 6 is 5. 4, now we can subtract. 4 minus 2 is 2, done. So there's the answer, it's 25. in base 8. Does that make sense? That's borrowing in base 8.